All right, greetings everybody and welcome to another video. Hopefully today I am coming through loud and clear. You know what? I understand that it sucks. Honestly, I don't have a good reason why I'm sorry so badly that some of these videos just were for, the reason that I'm pretty sure I know what the actual cause is. And it never actually pops up because Windows does its little updates and it changes my microphone settings, it changes my noise gate, and it causes problems with OBS. That just seems to be what it is. Because my microphone hasn't changed and it hasn't changed in terms of its settings too much. If it is, I put it back where it is. So, yeah. Apologize if there are any problems with this. Hopefully this video comes out loud and clear. Hopefully all the videos I recorded yesterday come out loud and clear as well. But yeah, sometimes it's just technical problems. So anyway, I am Mr. Lapis Poor, and today we are going to be asking a really important question, which is, where's the unit, William? Where is it? Yeah. To say the least, the update for JP went live today and was kind of missing something in a lot of places. It was missing a brand new unit that we were kind of expecting, which has made making this video annoying. So unlike many recent times lately where we have the character, but we don't have the Wotv calc data, welcome to the opposite land, where today we're taking a look at Light Veritas from a data perspective. So, Veritas of the Light, the new Veritas unit with some absolutely killer artwork. I mean, seriously, this looked good years ago and it still looks good now. So, super happy about that. Uses guns, armor, helmets, and accessories. Trust Mastery is a armor, 323 HP for defense, spirit, 7 critical evade, which is kind of interesting. Interesting little piece of armor you have there. Effect, 2 uses, increases defense and spirit for 4 turns by 25, increases all elemental resistance by 15% for 4 turns for self, and grants a regen effect. Actually, not a bad TMR. I kind of like this. It's pretty nice defensive based weapon that I think most tanks or characters who maybe need a bit more defensive capability would be pretty happy to get it. Also, if you combine this with just some of the other effects that are in the game right now that are a little bit popular, such as, debuff weakening, then this goes a considerably long way. And I mean, stat wise, it's not terrible either. 16 spirit, 4 defense, 7 critical evade. Pretty defensive Trust Mastery, and for essentially a free one, it's pretty good. Master ability, debuff effect weakening by 15 and AoE resistance duration of 20. So overall, I think generally pretty nice. If we look at the stats here, I mean, this is not now how I normally look at stats. I like to throw them into parties and see closer to what the actual numbers are. But let's just, for comparison's sake, take a look at another unit. And we're just going to go through this the long way. But a more recent unit like Exia. Exia is a premium unit. And you know what? I think that it is kind of fair to kind of cross compare as to what these units can look like. So taking a look at 2, magus magic damage-ish characters. Let's take a look. So Exia, magic stat of 222, HP generally higher. If we just look at general agility here, 36, 37, not too terribly different. TP, AP, all of that looks generally okay. Luck and dexterity, kind of surprised that luck and dexterity wasn't a little bit higher, but a premium unit is still a premium unit, and I think this is pretty good. Now, we're not going to go further than that, because if we really wanted to talk about it, well, we don't have everything, unfortunately, yet for Light Veritas, so that's kind of where the comparison can see. But I would say that just with base stats alone, Light Veritas isn't looking too terribly bad. So let's see what else she has. Starting off with supports, her main support one is pretty nice. Increase spirit penetration and AoE resistance, 40 and 20 for stealth, can't be dispelled, pretty nice. Spirit penetration going to be really important for damage. AoE resistance for survivability, and 24 isn't terribly bad. Reduce physical and magical damage taken also by just 15% permanently is a net positive and will make her generally harder to kill. Her secondary skill I also find is quite interesting because we're looking at magic increase, which is good for offensive, and decrease attack skill activation time, which could just mean a bunch of what is really important for this character to note is that she's going to have casting time. Might be a little bit problematic, but we'll see. Spellblade not bringing too much dark resistance, magic resistance, neither of which are any kind of a concern right now. Well, okay, magic resistance a little bit, but honestly, the dark just doesn't really matter because light and dark seem to be working in unison lately, and that takes this ability really out of consideration for me. Does have the agility bonus though from a support skill, which is really nice to have accessible at all given times. Her agility isn't terrible compared to a character like Exia based on the, essentially base stats and whatnot. So getting that 12% agility for a character that already seems pretty successful just on this unit seems really nice. And again, we have those crystal balls. That's right, those crystal ball accessories, which can boost the Veritas' stats. So cool, I actually like this. I also like the other ability too, which gives her a magic increase, but skill activation time for both attack skills and non-attack skills. If there is that inner kit, it's nice to have essentially a choice of really focusing on attack skills or focusing on both, but essentially having the option to go for either one. Looking at counter, chance to counter physical damage, 30%, decrease light resistance by 38% for 3 turns. So not the most amazing counter. If we look at her options though, essentially all damage with a heal, or counter damage and reduce magic damage taken. In a magic given meta, Spellblade is providing a really nice counter ability. If not, then, anti-physical, then this is probably the one you're going with, but not an amazing counter. Definitely not a dodge counter, which is, I still feel, generally the nice standard for stuff, essentially. Taking a look, we don't have a limit burst yet, so we're not going to take a look at that. Let's take a look at her subs really quick. Magi Striker. So this is Christmas Raph's job, which was considered to be really nice upon its release, and we'll take a look here. So reducing physical damage taken the larger the attack size itself, increased agility by 25%, and a magic increase by 40% is a really just good DP skill to be using at any time. Makes you more survivable, generally good. Reduce counter chance for target while dealing damage. A healing ability with casting time, so this is why, that casting time down for non-attack abilities is nice to have accessible in her supports as an option. Damaging, stop, and confusion. And the confusion one is on a large AoE with good range on it that also has the chance for magical damage reduction of 30 for 3 turns for targets is pretty nice too. Gives her a little bit of range, and since most of her probably primary attacks are range, this seems pretty good. And again, mage-based characters, high faith, probably a pretty decent chance of inflicting at least confusion, which would be pretty nasty to deal with, as it's not one of the ones most people are worried about still. So, good. Spellblade. Inflict poison, sure, another status effect, which actually I really like with Light Veritas, just because she is kind of evil. Super cool. Increased magic resistance and spirit. Increased chance of being targeted is also kind of interesting, given that trust mastery that she has is basically reading like a tank one, having a track blade here, or a track spell, I guess. is generally really nice. And our last ability, short range, but does dispel physical and magical damage reduction for self and dispels all debuffs for self. It's a nice cleanser. I don't think it's going to ever be used too much, but it's having. Now, taking a look here at what I almost said her actual name, but Veritas of Light has for her subs. What are we giving up? Well, this one, a triple hitter, which is only probably going to be contextually useful in, guild raids and other abilities, places where chaining is going to be really important, but not super important most other, which probably means that this one is just generally fine. It is also kind of interesting that, taking a look at what we have, it is reflectable, can be range buff, and fires in a straight line. So there are some things, but honestly, it seems okay to drop this. The other one, you can select 2 targets for 210 ally. That's actually a nice little heal in the back pocket if necessary, and there's no casting time on this, so generally pretty good. If her AI uses it, which I'm not super convinced about, that essentially makes me at least feel for now that this sub is pretty tossable for most of the times that you'll be using like Veritas Spellblade for maybe if you're looking for a little bit more magic resistance, 40% or so, and Magi Striker potentially if you're looking for, a little bit more durability. There are better avenues, I think, in her subs than in her main. Taking a look at this character, I do think it is really important to note right off the get-go that not having the range increase in here is a little bit concerning because that's what we see with a lot of range-based characters lately. We have that decreased movement with the range increase, and that keeps them generally safer. So it does kind of support the idea that with the Trust Mastery, this might be a more magic attack shooter that is capable of going in, and that gives me Barret flashbacks, which is a little scary. Okay, so what do we got? Well, base attack, not super high range on it, and grants haste. Any ability that grants haste is really, really good. And yeah, I just think that's always a consideration. And having 5 casts of haste is also really good. So yeah, I'm okay with that. Here we have reduced the magic damage taken by 50% for 4 times for self. Increase range by 1 for 4 turns for self. 200% chance for magic damage increase 4 turns, and decrease chance of being targeted. And this is where we start to throw in a little bit more of the idea of what this character is supposed to be. This is one of those support skills that you're always casting at the beginning of battle. Range increase is just so important for dealing, with a ranged character. So this is something that you're always casting. It's protection against magic damage. It's increasing the damage, but it's actually in sharp opposition to whatever Spellblade might have been potentially pitching to us, which kind of just makes me want to throw it right out the window. Next up, increase Undead Killer by a factor of 50, spell auto revive, 220 mod, and 100% hit chance. It's kind of interesting. For casting time on this, you are getting a fair good bunch of value. I mean, dispelling auto revive is nice. That is present on a lot of characters now. 220 mod is pretty high, and just dealing with evasion characters is really, really good. So I like this ability. I'm a little worried maybe about casting time. This might be something where Esper is a big thing to consider about getting maximum performance, but okay. Next up, reduces physical damage taken the larger the attack size by 25% for 4 turns for allies. That goes also for magical. Reduces magical taken by 20% for 4 turns for allies. Gives self auto revive and grants the following effect upon hit of decreasing missile resistance for 4 turns. It's the other basic, we see this a lot of the, general 2 support skills on offensive characters that do bunch of different stuff. If there's something big takeaways from this, this is a very anti-mage character that is dealing magical shooting type damage, which is interesting. I do like that. But we're also getting some, some general nice boosts for allies that are pretty good too. It's not just a unit that is solely focused around herself. She's actually focused on making sure her allies deal quite well. I wouldn't say that this is going to be too impactful of just decreasing by 15% missile resistance. I feel like ranged is not in a super happy place, so this is probably a character you're partnering with other mage-based characters or not ranged, unless the next few months are insane for ranged and more closer around to the 5th anniversary. I don't think that this is going to be incredibly relevant except for damage, barring what happens. And taking a look here, decreased light resistance by 25% for turns for targets on a big AoE, and it's a 200% mod, and does cast a second ability which dispels all debuffs for allies, magical damage reduction, physical damage reduction, blind, immobilize, and berserk immunity, which is a nice little follow-up skill, sure, but I don't think it's too crazy. Thankfully, it does get upgraded here. Light resistance stays the same. AoE resistance penetration of 30 is fine. It's not amazing, but does gain poison as well, which might be enough to be the breaking point on this. Good enough to be run most of the time. And our last ability, our job level 25, increased spirit resistance penetration by 40 for 4 turns for just this cast. Increases magic attack resistance by 40 for just this cast. So this is nice. I mean, this ability is really high range. This will get triggered. It is an AoE, so it does work with essentially what her kit is trying to do, which is deal some big AoEs. And there is a fair amount of punch through power here. We're looking at spirit penetration, as magic attack resistance, and it's pretty good. It's one of those things right now where I'm looking at this character and she has obvious synergies with another magic range attacker that just came out, Thunder Veritas, and that might be a pretty cool, fun thing to do. I'm a little at odds with some things here though in her kit that don't feel like I could possibly understand where they're going with it. Where she has, an ability that decreases hatred, but then she has an ability that also in her subs that could increase it. We look at, dealing with magic damage down, but then we have a bunch of other abilities that do that too. And it seems like there are a potential high number of abilities where we need to cast this at the start of the battle, we need this at the start of battle, and potentially even this at the start of battle. And given the high range on her job level 25 ability, she may just not cast all of the stuff that she would want to cast to really get her super high performance. But it goes a little bit further than that to me, where we look at this ability, which would be generally something that we would want activated as fast as possible. And it's kind of hidden on this basic ability that has an incredibly short range, so she might just never cast this too once she starts getting AoE, making her haste kind of needed to be gotten from another place, such as a Trust Mastery or another character. I don't know, Light Veritas doesn't seem super synergistic, but as with all of these Veritas characters, their performance is actually really quite good a lot of the times, especially over long periods of time, where recently I've been fighting Flame Veritas in Arena, I've been fighting Ice Veritas, and their performance isn't terrible. It's actually quite comparable versus premium tier units that are currently already out. So, with looking at Light Veritas, it's an initial preview where we're still missing the Limit Burst, where we're still missing certain key points such as Incarnation, that will go a long way to determining how the valuation of this character is at the once everything is said and done. And what's more, I mean, who knows what her other piece of equipment might be like. It might be something that really pushes her even further to be quite strong. But, you know, like, for me, a mage-based character, like a mage-based shooting range character, is such a special thing that I really like whenever they show up. No matter how much I kind of am iffy on the character, I mean, this is essentially a character like Flame Veritas, which is how you earn her medals to unlock her and upgrade her. Flame Veritas was one of the better ones to upgrade, and that is overall something that I'm very, very positive about. So, I mean, this update for JP is very bare bones while we wait for the beginning of October, while we get through the week of TGS. All of that stuff is, you know, going on and exciting. But in the meantime, like, Veritas has come out and just generally, you know, looking pretty cool from my perspective. And yeah, it would be nice to be able to test her, but well, we'll check and see. I spent a good amount of time. Doesn't look like she's showing up. So, you know, this time around, just the data. Hopefully, I will be able to test her out in the near future if her friend unit shows up. Could be a bug, could be a glitch, could be just I've forgotten that this is how it rolls sometimes when these units drop. Either way, stay tuned. I'll bring you more details as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you later, and God willing, the audio on this one was better.